Hey, what's up, Cyber Warriors? Today we're diving deep into the powerful memory forensics tool, Volatility, and a few helpful plugins to help us get started on our digital forensics journey. So we'll be going over 18 different plugins, their use cases, and how they can help us automate digital forensics by image. Um, First things first, Volatility is huge. If you need any help, you'll need Google, or in my case, ChatGPT. Keep in mind, ChatGPT only contains knowledge up to 2021, so keep things in general and don't trust the syntax because it has changed a lot since then. The most helpful resource is going to be the volatility documentation. Listing plugins is your best friend, but without further ado, let's just get to some basic syntax here. Just going over this here real quick. Just want to bring this up. These are all my notes here that we're going to be outlining from, essentially. Python 3 vol.py -- help, and piping that with grep -i, whatever plugin you want, gives you information on that plugin, but most of it does not come with any sort of information. You just kind of gotta Google things and ChatGPT it and see what kind of answers you get there. The only syntax you need to know to run a lot of the commands is Python 3 vol.py -f input. Right here, input your file and whatever plugin you wish to use. The above syntax is a good way to find that plugin. If you want to learn more about a specific plugin, then I highly suggest, again, using ChatGPT or Google to give you an overview of that plugin. That's what I did personally for the modules, to list their definitions in a simple manner. Now, going over these plugins here, image info has changed. Now we got to know like what kind of OS, and then put .info at the end. So if you know you're going to be dealing with Windows, which we are going to be dealing with Windows in our practical investigations here. If you're going to be dealing with Linux, then it's linux.info, and if it's Mac, then it's mac.info. Again, that's outside the scope of this room, but I hope that they do end up adding something like that eventually. Let's get this back up here. So listing processes, that's going to be our PS lists, list processes running on the system. It's great for getting a snapshot of what was running when the snapshot was made. PS scan, it scans memory to find processes, including those unlinked and hidden from the process list. It's great for spotting rootkits. PS tree, it visualizes the parent-child relationship between the processes, helps to understand the process lineage. We're going to be using this a lot here. Netstat, didn't get to use this one here in this room. I kind of wish we did, but it lists network connections. It's useful for identifying potential command and control activity. Then we have DLL list. It lists DLLs loaded by each process use, and it's useful for identifying malicious DLLs. We're going to be using that quite a bit in this room. And then we'll be using malfind. It identifies potential code injection in processes. We're not going to be using this one in this room, unfortunately. Yara scan. If you're a fan of the Yara room, then you can use Yara rules with volatility to find specific patterns in memory. And honestly, it's a key plugin for malware hunting. I didn't personally use it, but honestly, you could have. And I'll identify those here once we get to that step, but this is going to be just kept basic here to get us through this room in a quick and efficient manner. Then we have SSDT. It lists system service descriptor table entries. That is a mouthful. And essentially it detects rootkits that hook system calls. We didn't use this one at all. Modules. It lists loaded kernel modules and it helps spot malicious drivers. Not going to be using that. Driver scan. It scans for driver objects in memory, helps detect unsigned drivers and rootkits, and we're just not going to be using that one as well. Mod scan scans memory for kernel module objects and finds unlinked modules. I can see this being very useful to get down into the technicals, but didn't find a use case uh, in this room to answer these questions here. Driver IRP, it lists IRP handlers for driver objects and it helps detect rootkits, hooking IRPs. Callbacks, list registered callback routines, and it's great for spotting malicious hooking. IDT, lists interrupt descriptor table. It's another way to find hooked in interrupts by rootkits. Then we have API hooks, which is now deprecated as far as I know. If you guys have any idea whether or not they added it, I did do some research on it, and apparently that they were thinking about bringing it back into Volatility 3, but I couldn't find it when I tried to search for the plugin. Then we have mod dump. It dumps module from memory and it's useful for extracting suspicious modules for further analysis. Mod dump is deprecated as far as I know and now has 3 separate plugins that can be used. Those plugins are the windows.dump files, windows.hashdump, and the LSA dump as well. We didn't get to use that one, but I could see it being useful in case 1. We'll get to that here in a second. And then handles, it lists open handles for each processes and helps identify resources used by processes. We use this once at the end, and we'll just pretty much get to there. All right, so on to case 1. Bob, this isn't a horse. All right. So getting into it, let's go ahead and put this away here. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this right here. So we know we're going to be using Python 3 vol.py-f, and we're going to be using our investigation 1 VM em file here. And just do Windows info. Right. So question 1, what is the build version of the host machine in case 1? We can find that build version right here, NT build lab. That will be our answer there. Sweet, we're at 27. At what time was the memory file acquired in case 1? So we can see that here as well. Again, Windows info is where we're going to be starting out. I just want to start this out like what any other digital forensics incident response team member would do, or blue team member would do. So let's get this underway here. Now that we have both of those questions out of the way, we can move on to the third one. What process can be considered suspicious in case 1? So for this, we should be listing out the processes. So we're going to use a PS list functionality here. Just going to put it down here. All right, so for this one, it was a reader because obviously we were opening up Adobe Reader or an Adobe file, what he thought was an Adobe file, which it definitely wasn't because it has that underscore SL. So that's the suspicious file right there. Now, as for the parent process, we can find that right with this command. We're going to be using PS tree. So just again, we're only changing like the last dot right here to get our plugin. It's that simple. I love volatility. All right. So parent process, just judging from reader sl.exe, that was opened on PPID 1484. The PID 1484 is what we're searching for. That is going to be explorer.exe. It looks like it opened up Explorer. PID for that one, we already had that answer here. That's 1640. And then we have the parent process ID right here as well. You can find that right here as well too. Copy 1484. Now, what user agent was employed by the adversary in case 1? All right. This one was really hard to find, actually. I had to use the hint. And memmap was not covered at all. So we're just going to clear this out here real quick. But here was what I used to figure this out here. That's the syntax that we got to use. But it doesn't output anything. So the actual syntax that we need before we move on to the strings part, the actual syntax that we need here is, remember, you got to output after the file, and then put it to your temp folder, windows.memmap, and we'll put our PID 1640 and we'll dump that out. Don't worry, we don't have to look at all of this. This is where we start using strings. Now, just to go over what strings does, it'll look at the dump files like so. We're just going to do star.dump wildcard.in and then grep -i. And that -i is very important because grep will search for a pattern in each file or standard input using this flag. Without this flag, we get the wrong output. And that was the part where I was getting hung up on. So make sure that you're using that -I flag there. And from there, we have this just to show you guys how I was getting this wrong. Copy. We'll cap that flag first. It does nothing. So you really do need that -I flag right there. This one, I kind of don't like this question, because was Chase Bank one of the suspicious bank domains found in case 1? I mean, we know now that we have to search for Chase. So again, we're going to use the same thing, but search for Chase instead. And from here, we get a whole bunch of hits back for Chase. Honestly, this doesn't really matter here. We can see that there are actions being done on Chase. Method post on submit. We'll go to chaseonline.chase.com/my account. So it looks like it's automating it. So we can pretty much tell some pretty sketch stuff is going on here. All right. But the way this question could have been done better, it just takes the whole detective situation out of your hands. And looking back at the Splunk room, it's clear we could have had an opportunity to combine that skill set in this room to analyze HTTP traffic against common IOCs, which we do later on in case 2, but still, we know for a fact there are some suspicious domains being found with Chase here. All right, so now we just go back to case 2 here. Going up to case 2, that kind of hurt my feelings. So you've been informed that your corporation has been hit with a chain of ransomware that has been hitting corporations internationally. Your team has already retrieved the decryption key and recovered from the attack. Still, your job is to perform post-incident analysis and identify what actors were at play and what occurred on your systems. You have been provided with a raw memory dump from your team to begin your analysis, and that memory file is the investigation-2.raw file. So we'll go ahead and run our info on that real quick. Let's do this, copy that here. All right, so we don't really need any of this information. It's just good to have the output. And typically somebody in DFIR will keep this up nonetheless, just so that they know what kind of system they're in and when that timestamp was done, because obviously that is really helpful for establishing a timeline. All right, so to get our answer here, what suspicious process is running at PID 740 in case 2? We're just going to go ahead and run PS list here. First thing that pops out is wanted decryptor. And that's PID 740 right there. Next question is, what is the full path of the suspicious binary and PID 740? We don't get that here, so we'll have to use a DLL list in order to get that information. Told you we were going to use that eventually. Syntax is as follows here. Paste this in, and we can see that Windows DLL list -- PID 740 is what we're going to be looking for, so we can get some granularity there. Awesome. So we can see that it started out at C Intel, whatever this is, and it started wanted decryptor.exe, and that's our answer right there. And then we'll have to look at the parent process of PID 740 in case 2. That's very easy. We've already done this before. We're going to be using PS3. So we can see the parent process ID is 1940. And parent process 1940 belongs to task scheduler, our boy. So what is the suspicious parent process ID connected to the decryptor in case 2? We already got that. It's 1940. From our current information, what malware is present in the system in case 2? Obviously, it's WannaCry. What DLL is loaded by the decryptor used for socket creation in case 2? This one takes a little bit of research, but you can use the DLL list again to figure this out. Where is it? On earlier. There it is. Okay. So the answer is easy using ChatGPT, but remember to always verify this information as well, because ChatGPT can hallucinate answers sometimes. So WannaCry, just to give some brief background, is a ransomware that shook the cybersecurity world in 2017, and it uses the Microsoft Windows Socket 2.0 WinSock API for network communications. Therefore, it would be loaded to the corresponding DLL, which is typically WS2_32.dll to handle its network socket operations. And we can see that right here. Now, what mutex can be found that is a known indicator of the malware in question in case 2? This one was a little bit difficult, but the hint gives us the answer. For this one, we mainly just want to do handles. Told you we were going to use it. And you're going to grep 1940. You don't grep 1940, it won't print out the mutex. Just to give a heads up on that. So knowing that you have to grep in order for better granularity, that's always a good advice that anybody can receive there. So we have the answer right here: MS Win Zones, Cache Counter, Mutex A. We can actually Google this here real quick. And I found the answer right here, personally. The ransomware profile. You always want to look at ransomware profiles or any kind of malware and their profile. This question was pretty easy. It wanted you to find the mutex. We can also see that A0 is also a thing. It's essentially the same process though. All opened by task scheduler. Our boy. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Now, what plugin could be used to identify all files loaded from the malware working directory in case 2? That would be there we are. It's windows.filescan. Super simple. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me on this journey here. If you guys have any questions, including Windows File Scan, you can always just do this here. Forgot to put that in there, but this gives you the output. Windows.filescan is what you need. I wouldn't do it personally just because it crashes my terminal. But you guys, if you guys have a better VM out there, definitely give it a try. Send me some screenshots. I would really love to see that.